Okay, go ahead and introduce Isabella there.
Yes, sir. Isabella, this is Grandmaster Jeff Smith. He's my mentor and a world kickboxing champion, but my business mentor as well. I'm one of the leaders of this group. Master Oliver's the other one that you'll meet as well. And this Grandmasters and group, Isabella is my program director in training. She's my newest. She's just learning and just aboard. She's actually homesick. She got here and got sick immediately, but she's online learning and studying the intro and doing everything while she's getting well.
Okay, Master Oliver and Master Moody are on now. So
and there's Master Oliver. If you can see Master Oliver there too, Isabella.
Hopefully she's not sick of you already is what, hopefully that's not the situation. And Stephen, I think you have made a public pronouncement that you're going to hit 75,000 this month.
70, sir, but challenge accepted. 75,000. Yes, sir.
If you can get 70, might as well be 75, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if everybody got the note, but Jan's husband passed away earlier this week from COVID. And so anybody who has been positively impacted by them, which I would assume is everyone, unless you're brand new, I would certainly appreciate reaching out, flowers, card, whatever. And I sent that information out. He's been in the hospital for what now, Matt Smith, a couple weeks. Yeah, maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And succumbed, I think it was on Monday. But on a sad note there, and on a happier note in the same family, it was Rachel's birthday, I think yesterday or the day before. So,
kind of hard to celebrate that when those kind of things happen around your birthday.
It is absolutely. A couple of quick things. For next week, we won't have either meeting because we're going to be hopefully traveling to Annapolis or be in Annapolis. I know that Master Moody and I will be, if I remember correctly, traveling to Annapolis on Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday, whatever. But we won't do Tuesday because we're getting ready to travel and figuring out what we need for that and all that stuff. So the agenda for the trip, and we sent it out a couple times. And by the way, I might point out too, we've sent out the schedule on the Black Belt retreat, and it says Breckenridge. It'll actually be at Estes Park, which we did, I don't know, 2 years ago or so, which is absolutely spectacular as well. But it'll be at Estes Park rather than Breckenridge. We'll get you the lodging information and all that stuff. In Estes, the actual testings at a big YMCA camp, they have lodging and, and food options and so forth. Or you're welcome to, stay anywhere from the Stanley Hotel, which is, world famous as the location of The Shining and the inspiration for the Shining, and one of the top 5 haunted hotels in the country, and they have ghost tours. And by the way, named Stanley Hotel because it was created by Stanley, the inventor of Stanley Steamer. So that's an interesting tie. And modeled after the Hotel Del. He had seen the Hotel Del and liked that and wanted to do a similarly exotic location. And since the beautiful shores of Coronado, not Corona, Coronado were gone, he chose the Rocky Mountain venue. But there's the Hotel Del. There's a whole bunch of other hotels. When we're going is for Estes Park, completely and totally off season, so you won't have difficulty with any of that. Other than a fair number of the lodging choices may just be shut down for the winter season. There's no skiing there, in other words. So it's, instead of being peak skiing open, it's off season. And then for next week, our tour starts promptly at 2:30. Plan on being at the main gates, which is where the visitor center is, by about 2 o'clock. Just inside the main gate, you'll see the visitor center. They will need you to have ID. If you're an international traveler, if they let if they let you guys leave the UK or Canada, then bring a passport. I think they've permanently locked down. Aren't you now in a permanent prison state in Canada? I know Australia and New Zealand have decided to. Australia has decided to revert to its original state as predominantly a state. Yeah, I'm not joking. But
Grandmaster Oliver,
go ahead.
I wanted to inform you, I got some notice from our 25th reunion saying that they recommend that you bring a passport, even for us, because they might increase the level because of 911 and all that stuff. So just bring your passport, and if you have, you know, they may not even accept your regular driver's license. So just bring your real ID if you have that, and or passport is what they're recommending.
Yeah. If you last time we did this, we were extremely concerned about it, and some states, Oklahoma and Colorado may have been two of them, from a vague recollection standpoint, didn't have the new. I think the word you used was real ID, the federal, ID thing. And frankly, Sal, we worried way more than we needed to last time, but it is the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and so forth. So you've got a fair point there, because I'm sure all the federal installations are locked down pretty much for the month. So if you have a passport, bring your passport. Otherwise, whatever other ID. For you foreigners, I think we pretty much consider the UK and Canada as the 51st and 52nd state for all purposes. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just bring your passport if they let you out of the country. I think we'll let you in, but I'm not sure they'll let you out. And then on Saturday, we're going to have them serving a light breakfast, sandwiches, and one thing or another, not very elaborate, but they're going to set that up at about 9. We'll formally start about 10. And when we formally start at 10, that's going to be with Captain Cal. So he's going to have 10 to about 1 o'clock. And then we're going to break for lunch. There's a ton of little interesting restaurants and so forth around that. We'll take about a 90-minute break, come back to the meeting room, be there till 6 or 7 or whatever time we break. And then on Sunday, we'll try to make it a little bit of a short day, but we'll have brunch served in the room, so we don't have to take any time to leave. So it'll be kind of a working brunch and meeting on Saturday. Anybody have any questions on that? If you haven't booked everything, you certainly should. But you're best to fly into Baltimore, Washington. If you fly into Dulles, which is over by Alexi and Master Smith, I looked yesterday. It was about a 90-minute drive, and it's literally opposite ends of the DC metro area, right? You have if you drew an oval, which would be the Beltway, Dulles is that way and Annapolis is that way. So you're much better off to go into Baltimore, Washington, if you can get there. And your third option is Reagan, aka National, which has the benefit of being in the middle of the city, has the disadvantage of being in the middle of the city, and going through the city is a nightmare. And either way, you'd have to probably get out to the Beltway to get there smoothly.
It's a cool landing, though.
We have 2 extra seats on Friday or on Saturday morning on our way there, if anybody needs them from Dulles.
Yeah, if anybody gets stuck at Dulles, they can catch a ride with Alexia. Any and all questions about that? And
quick question: how far is the Baltimore airport from the hotel?
It's about 30 minutes.
It's about 30 minutes. Okay, because we'll probably just get an Uber. That's what I'm thinking, instead of just renting a car and have it sit there for a few days.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes ish, probably worst case, depending upon traffic. I mean, you are in an area. DC is every bit as bad, and Denver, frankly, but DC is every bit as bad as LA nowadays. So when you get stuck in traffic, you can really get stuck in traffic. But on that side, from Baltimore, Washington to where we're going, right in the heart of Annapolis, it's not likely to have that kind of problem. Matt Smith, you remember I went to Carroll Milton School down in right off of Chinatown. Literally took me an hour and a half to get back out to Sterling one time.
Yeah,
That was-
going that way is very difficult. What time are you flying in, Delfino? You're muted. You're muted, Delfino.
I get in at 5.
Okay.
Okay, well, you'll be in rush hour still.
Yeah, five.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit, 30 minutes or better. You're going to get in on 5 on Thursday.
Actually, I'm getting in there Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Okay. And Annapolis is a wonderful place to visit, by the way. So you'll have time to do that.
My wife is excited.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
As is downtown DC, but if it me, I would just hang out in Annapolis. Any questions at all about next week before we move on?
So we're driving in on Wednesday night. There's a meeting for Thursday morning. That's correct.
No, it's everything that we're doing starts on Friday afternoon.
Friday at
Oh.
2:30. It
Yeah.
starts with the tour.
Yeah, starts with the tour. We were doing a different meeting that's not for martial arts schools on Wednesday, Thursday, and actually Master Moody and I have a video production project going on. But all the martial arts wealth starts with the tour. Be there around 2. It'll start at 2:30, and then on Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, so then because Matt and I were going to be leaving like 3 a.m. to be there for a 10 o'clock meeting that I saw on the agenda, but I got that wrong.
Yeah, you got that wrong. So don't leave at 3:30 and don't be there at 10.
Oh, Matt's happy.
And
What-
double
what
check-
happened?
Double check your agenda,
Yeah.
because you
What
might.
happens
No,
after?
no, Matt Smith, I know what he's reading. We combine the two groups on the agenda, but for the martial arts, it's Friday afternoon and it's Saturday, Sunday. He read the agenda and interpreted it.
He read the first one, which was financial advisor wealth mastery.
Exactly, but that's fine. That's fine. So
So
just,
that's not for us.
no, just worry about being there on Friday by 2 at the Air Force, the Naval Academy.
Okay.
No insult
But,
intended, Sal. No insult
Yeah.
intended. I know.
Well,
I know that Air Force is way below.
way
Navy.
below.
You know,
And
way
below that is Army. And what are we
I
doing
think
after
most of the
tour?
academic ratings actually put West Point #1 and
All
Annapolis
right.
number 3 or 4.
All right.
You know, and then you have football, which I could give a shit about, but so go Navy. Well, what's Navy won, like 6 out of the last 7 outings or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
what are we doing after the Friday tour, sir? Is there anything happening after that?
Not in any organized fashion.
Okay.
Master Smith, Moody, and I have to have a little meeting with Captain Cal because he wants to be actively involved with what we're doing moving forward, and we would be delighted to have him in whatever capacity he would like. So so for the broader group, no, nothing at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But full days on Saturday and Sunday.
And by the way, if it works for his schedule, he's also invited to the Black Belt retreat. I'm not sure it'll work for his schedule or not. But
This particular event is no uniform, right, sir? There's no martial
Right.
arts, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Close.
yeah, this is, business casual. We'll try to avoid T-shirts with pot leaves or anything, and it would be nice to dress a little nicer for the Naval Academy. I would hate to have a terribly motley crew in such a button-down environment. But other than that, it's business casual. And hey, Colby joined us. Welcome, Colby. Any other questions on Annapolis? We'll move forward. No? Okay. Anybody who hasn't planned to join us, we're getting in the food reservations and seating charts and everything today. We've already done it, but if you need to be added last minute, tell Bob and he'll yell at you and then add you to the list. Again, let's offer condolences to the Lappin family and recognize them. And by the way, I mean, this is not at all inappropriate. They have had a phenomenal month so far into September and in August with just, horrible family and distraction is the wrong word, but horrible family situation. Jan's husband in the hospital, touch and go, and then obviously passed. So it's a really good lesson. One, to be able to make sure you've built your staff up well enough that things happen without your constant presence, because I'm sure Jan hasn't been present at the school to the extent that she would otherwise, and nor should she have been. And so I think one lesson is about staff and having staff in place to maintain those things, and two, have systems in place well enough that it's not dependent upon your personality. And we've seen it across the board. Master Moody, Master Smith, and I can tell you, we've had friends that, one ended up went in for a back surgery, supposed to be out for a week, ended up out for 6 months. The school went belly up in the process. Another, and actually one of our members mom had Alzheimer's, and he and his brother were getting on a plane every other week to take care of mom. And the business kept cranking in his case because we had gotten staff together and systems together to keep it there. There's all kinds of numbers of things that can happen, including you decide you've always wanted to go to Maui for a month, like Master Smith did, and decide that you want to take your entire neighborhood. So you fly 17 people. Fly 17 people and rent condos and Harleys for everybody. And if I remember correctly, you only rented the Harley for yourself. How selfish! But how many people did you take to
17.
I got the number right. Okay. I see. I wasn't even exaggerating. I was afraid I might have been. It sounds so ludicrous. So you might decide that you want to take 17 people to Maui for a month and want the school to operate in your absence. But to be fair, it was only 2 weeks.
17 days too. 17 for 17.
The point is the school worked fine while he was gone, and that's what you want to be able to do.
And it was extremely expensive is the other point. But yeah, the point was the school operated just fine in his absence. And again, Jan and Rachel have both been keeping the plate spinning while Rachel got married, and then hospitalization for 3 weeks, followed by not making it.
Plus all of them got COVID too.
Yeah, essentially the entire staff had COVID for a while.
The goal isn't for the school to be dependent on you. The goal is for the school to be independent of you. And this is a conversation we had with Stephen Del Castillo a couple of weeks ago, where he thought he was going to have to be, he was going to take over the floor for a year, which is exactly the opposite of what you should do. The school, the goal, one of your targets is that it's independent of you.
Absolutely.
You still have to be very much there, in checking up, what gets checked gets done. So it's not like disappear, but even when you're gone, I still remember when Master Oliver was on vacation all the time. His staff was calling my staff to see what we were doing. And they were telling my staff that we have to check in with Master Oliver every day and give him all the stats and what happened and how many intros and who showed up. So, that way they stay on top of everything too.
Well, when I made that Herculean mistake of being a tournament promoter and had to go to 10 national events a year, but part of the routine was I'd go to the eliminations during the day, go shower, put on a suit and tie to go to the final show, go to the front desk of the hotel and pick up the facts that had come in with the stats. And the other promoters joked that, they were judging and I was reviewing stats and prepping my Monday meeting. But it was absolutely true. Now, I wasn't reviewing stats while judging, but I was, I was usually sitting at the front table with my clipboard and my notebook, ignoring everything except when I was judging. Or requiring to be the person on the mic, whatever.
If you'd have been doing that, you'd have been giving them high numbers because you were looking at those high numbers.
Well, I would have been scoring as well as everybody else because none of them had balls. So everybody got a 9.99 or a a 10 or a 99, 9.98. So all you had to do was add or subtract 1/10 of a point and you were fine. Except for the one time the idiot went like this, which is one of my favorite stories, is the center judge, 7 judges and the center judge who had failed to abstain himself because his son was competing. And instead of, after they tied, he pointed to both. And of course, you remember this, it was Gabe Renaga and Red Dragon guy.
Casamasa.
Chris Casamasa. Lou Casamasa tied him. And so they did the show of hands and 3 of them gave it to Gabe, 3 of them gave it to Chris. And Casamasa pointed at both. And it was a Kafka-esque nightmare in the making that somehow I got drug into. But anyway, mostly Mike McCoy got drug into. So questions here. We're kicking off September strong.
Oh,
Stephen, you had something?
well, it wasn't about that specifically though. It was more about like one of the things I'm excited about right now after our conversation and where thank God you guys talked me into hiring Isabella and hiring Chris and getting this show on the road, is their training, and I'm systemizing everything better than ever. And so I have a systems question about one little specific piece. So
Go ahead.
obviously we kind of already have a system, in the Quick Start program for the enrollments. When I was at Jan School though, they use a presentation, like an actual computer. And so somewhere in between the two, listening to you talk last week, somewhere in between the two, I created a presentation. I'm thinking about putting them on like iPads where like Isabella could sit down on the bench by somebody and use the iPad to go through it. I just think it might be easier to train somebody faster than the one that I do on paper. And I wanted your opinion of that.
I agree. The caveat that I'll throw in before Master Moody gets to it is also print it out and have it in a 3-ring notebook, and then have a backup to the 3-ring notebook. You have a military background, but the old adage of 2 is 1 and 1 is none certainly applies in this case, right? If you're gonna use and again, I've used the example of the BMW dealership where everything is off of a computer, but with a huge flat screen, which is a wonderful setup. And they have it's almost like a more intimate restaurant booth and 2 little curved sides. So you're kind of naturally looking at the salesperson and the screen. All of that works great. And in fact, and the studies I have were from the automobile industry, is they were showing that there is actually more credibility given. Bob, you got it? There's actually a little bit more credibility given by the other person if it's on a computer screen or an iPad than if the quote unquote salesperson is writing it out. I still do I write it out because I've done it 10,000 times, and and the closing rate's close enough to 100% to be rounding error. However, I agree is having it in a PowerPoint on a computer screen or having it on a PowerPoint on an iPad is just great. Don't make the mistake though of having the access to PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever and then overutilizing it.
Yes, sir.
Right. You want to keep it really simple and straightforward. I've seen Master Smith will tell you, Master Moody, so many times new people come in and we say, what's your process? And they'll send us this PowerPoint and they go through item by item. And, when you pay for this package, you get this, 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 and this. And they go through all this crap. And then they have all this verbiage about justifying what they're doing. And, and then what you get is you get testings and you get this and you get this. And frankly, not only is it not helpful, but they get into such detail, they complicate and confuse people. Right. I would much rather it be, you're going to, as you get started, that's going to include everything you're going to need, for the next 6 months or so. There's nothing else you need to worry about, rather than having it all itemized. And again, you can get real complicated. All of a sudden, different things start popping up. And here's the pants to your uniform. Here's the belt. Here's the top. Here's the patch. Here's the, I'm exaggerating. Here's the hand pads you get. Here's, well,
You're not exaggerating too much.
no. Yeah, so the, you know, the answer is don't do that. And the thing to definitely do is to have a consistent system that everybody is forced into doing every time, right? And again, it could be, I have it on a big screen TV in the office, but then I have 5 or 6 iPads sitting around, always charged, that I can just grab and go through it with. And then I have, you know, 3 notebooks on the shelf that have the same thing, so I can get out the flip chart in case the power has died for 24 hours. And, you know, in your case, I had a hurricane and they wiped off the power grid or whatever, so that you have a backup. And, you know, I sound pedantic about that, but, you know, in operating a school, I mean, I'm dead serious. If I had a clipboard to have them fill out the info sheet underneath the desk, you know, where nobody could see, there were 50 of them, right? And if I had pins that I needed to have, there wasn't just 20 of them. There's 3 boxes underneath the desk of backups. And if I did anything by computer, you know, that we had to do by computer, there not only was 1, there was 2, probably there was 3 of them. And there was the big ass battery backup deal. And then there was the iPad backup. I mean, you know, Murphy's Law is real. You know, whatever can go wrong goes wrong. And I mean, I've done enrollments where we had a sewage backup and one thing or another, and we got, you know, the power is out and we've got 3 parents with their headlights pointing into the floor, so we have some light. And I'm doing the enrollment, you know, out on a picnic bench in front of the school, so we don't have the stench. And you just, you know, that's the way that your numbers never slip, is you're adaptable and able to do those things. Do I exaggerate on any of that stuff, Master Smith or Master Mooney?
No, and I'm a big fan of making sure that everything's on paper. And when you do that, not have like page protectors, the really nice professional. Well, I mean, page protectors don't exist in my school. It's laminated, really nice, color trimmed. So your presentation sheets, what you're using is very professional looking. Never ever just like inkjet print. You know, you go from like an iPad and it's really nice to this crappy book of, you know, stuff with wrinkled page protector stuff. And it doesn't cost much money to do a really nice program sheet that has all your features and benefits or whatever your information is, and have it laminated, trim off all the plastic and 3-hole punch it and put it in your book and make it look really nice. I mean, I have one that, so if I'm training my staff, I have one that has all my stuff in it, and then it has, you know, each page, and you can see it's laminated and exactly what we do, and there's testimonials and stuff on the pages and everything right here. And there's no excuse for not doing an enrollment. The way to think about it is, if everything goes to hell, they can still do an enrollment, take a credit card number, take money. There's nothing that would keep them from doing an enrollment.
Yeah. If you've ever been into a store, and like up here, there's a McDonald's and a Starbucks, and it's interesting. The Starbucks is obviously a corporate location. The McDonald's is obviously an independent franchisee. And if there's the power grid goes out in this little area, the McDonald's is always serving whatever they can serve and taking cash. And the Starbucks is going up, we can't take your money because our computers are off, right? Well, what's the difference? There's an owner operator there said, I don't, you know, if somebody has money, you're going to get money. And if we have, you know, if we have anything that's cooked, you better get rid of it before it spoils. And, you know, I don't care about, you know, the computers right now. And you got to have your staff all in that kind of framework, right? Because I've seen people, you know, it's the old Zig Ziglar thing is, you know, if you have your goal clearly in mind, you know, a boulder on a beach feels like a pebble. And if you don't have your goals clearly in mind, a pebble feels like a boulder. You know, I staff who's not correctly on the same page, they can hit a little barrier. You know, there's a tornado warning. We have to cancel all of our intros. You see final clouds? No. Okay. We're not canceling. You know, you gotta be on the right page with this stuff.
Yeah. a lot of schools do that with snow days. Oh, it's supposed to snow. There's going to be a blizzard. We can't have classes, and then it didn't even snow.
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially here. And Matt Smith, you remember the story. Amanda Christensen has yet to live down the, oh my God, it's supposed to be the worst blizzard in 22 years. And it was in fact like 3 little snowflakes came down and they actually closed the school. And you know, the junior policy was, and my policy has always been, we don't close for anything. You know, there's a 6-foot drift. Yeah, Master Moody's never had that problem. You know, the 6-foot drift, you know, the conversation is, why don't you have a 4-wheel drive with snow tires? And nowadays it would be call an Uber, make sure you call an SUV. I had one poor program director that I made him go to the school in the middle of a blizzard on his Ninja motorcycle. That's all you got, you know.
Oh, that sounds like Colby.
There you go. There you go.
He rode his motorcycle out to our last retreat out in Colorado.
Yeah, I was worried
I
about.
don't think through a blizzard though.
No, he caught some rain, but
He left a little early just in case it might be a blizzard. That was still early enough in the season. You could have been. You didn't get caught in snow, did you, Colby? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be at 10,000 foot elevation on the way through the pass in a snowstorm on a motorcycle. I would not be. Nor would I want to do any of the 22 stupid things that Master Smith has done with me, tagging along from time to time. Well, what was the one thing, 2 foot of standing water on I-70 with semi trucks trying to drown us?
yeah, at 9 o'clock at night, pitch black, raining so hard we couldn't even see the taillights of the car in front of us.
Yeah, that was really, really, really stupid. But on that note, does that help, Stephen?
Absolutely, sir. Great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, keep it simple. But all the stuff that you do verbally, you can do it on an iPad. I mean, a PowerPoint, you can have it be, you can have it, it's $700 to register, but you can have it pop up and, mark it out, or even use a little, Apple Pencil or whatever the Android version is and mark that out. And, but it'll only be, we give you a $200 discount if you go ahead and finalize your enrollment today. You can do all that stuff, on a PowerPoint easily, right? What you do want to do is, I think you want to do this always anyway. You want to avoid gimmicky language, and you want to avoid gimmicky, because it's you and I like you, we're going to do, right? You don't want that kind of stupid salesman lie to them stuff. And that's why I don't like deal special, I don't like words like that anyway, right? What we do, since you came in from blank, if you finalize your enrollment today, we give you a $200 discount, so it'd be X, right? Well, can I still get that can I still enroll next week? Yes, but we can't give you the $200 discount because that's right. So, have the language be consistent and not have it be, sound like a bad used car salesman.
And Stephen Dell had started September off really good. I think you had a $7,000 day, if that was, if those numbers were correct. And I think it was quite a few factors that went into that. Tell us quickly what that day was like.
Well, first of all, I'll say that I was most excited about the day already for the level of training and systemization stuff we had done. But then we got to the evening and just did, ironically, the renewals that we did were just regular money down and monthly renewals. But so it was ironically the 2 individuals we enrolled that was, $5,700 of, it was a year where, they actually, this was one where it just got to the part where he asked, well, what was the difference between the tuition rates on the, why is it the 225 instead of that? And I said, oh, because that's the paid in full price, da da da. And so then I gave it to him. So almost $5,600, $5,700, whatever it was just an enrollment of a father and daughter yesterday.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you say paid in full price?
Yes, sir.
I did. It's a relatively minor point. But my language on that would be, well, some people prefer, to pay the year initially. So that would be if you paid the year initially now rather than did it monthly.
Oh, I think what I actually said was, oh, yes, sir, that's the price if you finance it yourself. And then I explained to him that.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that word.
Okay, yes, sir.
I mean, you got the money, right?
Yes,
And to some extent, I'm nitpicking, but I'm kind of anal about sales language. Anytime you're in doubt, think about admissions counselor at Harvard or West Point. Of course, you don't pay for West Point. You're getting actually paid when you're going to West Point or Annapolis. But think of the admissions counselor at Ivy League University, Stanford, West Point, Annapolis.
Like to prepay the tuition would be better.
Yeah, or if you pay the first year initially rather than something like that. And
If you prepay the first year,
Well, I wouldn't say prepay because that implies that it's a monthly tuition. The program is for the year. They're just paying it over monthly time. So if you make a single payment, or use Master Oliver's phrase that he said, if you say prepay, then it implies that you're paying monthly. We don't have a monthly program. They can pay it
More
per
like
month.
a car or a house versus a one-off activity.
Won't quite say it that way.
yeah,
But that they are paying for, the leadership programs, $25,000. We don't present it that way, but we present it monthly, but the program is the cost of the program for that time period.
well,
It's not a
yeah.
monthly program.
Think about what nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to have a new finance contract.
Right.
Two words that create a negative emotional reaction: contract and finance.
Right.
Nobody wants to have a new monthly payment. Got enough of those already. Okay. And as you go through and you start thinking about it, does the word give you a positive or a neutral or a negative visceral reaction? And what you're always looking to do in that situation is keep them in a positive state, keep them happy, never be the finance person in the back of the car dealership, right? And it's again where, if you haven't been through it, a BMW, I'm sure nationally, but the high-end dealers, they have their processes, which transfers to Mini. I don't know if I guess BMW is Rolls Mini and BMW. But they have a process that they're using now that you never go to anybody else. There's no go to the back room. There's no go to the sales manager. It's all on sort of an iPad and a big flat screen TV, and it's in a little comfortable round table-ish type of thing. And you never actually go back to an office even, right? But why are they doing that? You're sitting down there in the middle of the showroom, you're still looking at the cars. In fact, maybe you're looking at a car that you lust for more than the one you're talking about, right? And you don't end up in that psychology that a lot of them stupidly put you in, which is while you're still haven't given them the money and signed the paperwork, they're putting you in a really negative, oh my God, what am I getting myself into situation? And so always in your language and in your body posture. And what I would always find is I could train the staff easily on the language, but then it was the ones who've been around a while, like Master Smith, I can't fix their language. The new ones, I could fix their language straight away. But it's the posture and the tonality that I had to really pay attention to. Because if it was, we're asking for $397 a month for initial enrollment, and in their mind, they're going, oh my God, I could never pay for that. Then what happens is their voice tone changes, their body posture changes, and so forth. And sometimes they go from leaning in, very engaged, and they start talking about money, and they go backwards, right? And they're putting distance between them. Or they go from talking, in normal tone like an instructor to really soft and slow. Well, and the tuition is going to be $397 monthly. That'll be your monthly payment. see the emphasis on the wrong thing.
Isabella's not going to be that way.
Yeah, yeah. But you got to monitor, and that's why you record.
Yes.
And most of my program directors, by the way, Stephen, if they recorded it and they listened to themselves, they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that."
Absolutely. Recording is really critical.
Yeah.
Or if you guys listen to yourselves, you don't think you're doing it that way, and then you find out you are.
Yes.
It was last week's discussion, by the way, that I was glad when you mentioned the thing about not coming back into an office. That's what gave me the iPad idea, because I had already created the presentation, but I was going to put it on a iMac here in my office. And then when you said that, I said maybe iPads, because then they could do it out there in the intro room and just sit down next to them and
Well,
do it.
and by the way, you can have it on both, because ideally you're doing 3 enrollment conferences at once and you're trying to figure out where to put people, right? I've had schools where we put a little picnic, we had a little area in back. We could put a picnic table in the sidewalk out back, and, go out there and do an enrollment in the intro room, and do one on the benches, and do one in the office. I mean, that's the kind of volume you want, to have happening. In fact, frankly, I've had it be where I had a couple of them going at once. You guys sit over here while you're filling out this paperwork. I got to go talk to them, and I'm going back and forth. But that's what you want. You want that drinking from a fire hose. How the heck do I get all this stuff done syndrome going on?
Don't get too enamored with this technology being the solution that's going to make a big difference in your close rates. And in spite of the evidence that BMW might have, I think my suspicion is that's a little bit different of a different sale, and we have a little bit different, different kind of a situation. I don't get too enamored. The primary thing is you, and the way what Master Oliver just said, the way you're talking, the way you're coming across, whether you do a really good intro lesson, they have to want it. There needs to be a good deal. You need to make sure you put through the deal properly. You do the other pieces of the sale. The iPads are not the magic. The magic is that there's no magic and you do the other stuff right. So, go ahead and do that, but do all the other stuff and have a backup, have a really good book with it as well. Anyway,
Well, the only magical piece is every enrollment conference follows the same script.
Right.
That's right.
Right. That's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish there. So that we can have more people able to do it. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I think you nailed it. And Master Smith talks about it all the time, and we're really good at it here. I tell my team, by the time they get to the enrollment conference, they're already sold anyway. It's just a matter of telling them what the tuition is, right? Like it's the selling from the floor is the most important part.
Yeah. And I might add to what Master Moody said, or reinforce, because it was implicit in there, still being the instructor and walking them through the details of continuing on, as opposed to handing them off to quote unquote salesperson, one thing or another, right? Even the term program director, in the school, I wouldn't say I'm the head instructor, I'm handing you off to the program director.
No.
Right? I'm going to have to run into the next class. Joey is doing fine. The 3 things that I thought were best, the 3 things that we're going to work on immediately. Ms. Jones, I know one of the things you might think that he's only 6, but frankly, relative to his age, he's performing as well as the 9-year-olds normally would at this level. I wouldn't worry about that at all. In fact, at this age, they learn faster, even though their body doesn't look like it for a while. And then, Mr. Moody's going to wrap up the details and get you going. And if I remember correctly, I'm going to see you again day after tomorrow. Right. I mean, that kind of handoff, not, hey, walk into the office and here's the program director and they're going to pitch you on the program. They're going to give you, they handle money, so I don't handle money. They handle money. So go talk to them about money. You've got to break all those kind of internal habits.
I just have them use the simple line when they hand you off to the instructor, to the program director, I just say, come on in the office. I'm going to show you how to get started.
Yeah. We'll wrap up the rest of the details.
Yeah, they're going to show you how to get you started. They're going to take you, wherever you're going to have them and show you how to get started.
Yeah, precisely. Good. Anything else on that, Stephen, or anybody else have anything on that direction, or or
So,
going.
so anyway, congratulations on that 7,000 day. I always like to hear 7,000 in a day is a good number.
Thank you, sir.
What we've got to do, Master Smith, is, we're back in prime season. We've got to get somebody to start breaking our individual cash records. I think my record for a weekend was 67.3 or something like that. Master Smith, what's the most you've ever done in a day?
Well, you always added your schools all together and I did them all.
I'm talking that I did belly to belly, face to face with a prospect.
But you did 67 at one school in one day?
One weekend. Yeah.
Oh, weekend. And a weekend is a Friday and a Saturday?
It was a Saturday, Sunday, actually.
Yeah. And I usually didn't do them by the weekends. I just had daily goals, daily records. And I think our daily record was like 25,000. It wasn't tremendous, but we had quite a few in the 10 to 20,000 was very common towards the end of the month. That last week when we're closing out a lot of follow-ups. It's all if you have everything set up so you close out the month. You've got all your enrollments ready to go, and because we always work towards the last day of the month. I mean, we didn't put that, we can just sign them up next week. It doesn't matter. No, we were always trying to cram everything into this month to get it as high as we could this month.
Well, something that I was in the mode of is set a monthly goal and try to hit it by the end of the first week. And then lord that over everybody else to try to get them to catch up to that number. Truth be told.
Which isn't out of the ballpark, that isn't crazy. That just means you get all your renewal appointments done in the first week. That means you get your new member appointments done in the first week, or most of them, but mainly your renewal appointments done in that first week. We try to do a fast start is what we call it, and just get a lot of that stuff done in the first week. If you set that stuff up, you can definitely get your goal in the first week.
Yeah. And the method to the madness, by the way, is the problem is with staff is a lot of times they'll get in a panic at the end of week 3 and then try to cram everything into the last week of the month. And then of course they have a good week, but they have a crappy month. So if you force it to at least hit the whole low goal by the end of the first week, now you have momentum, and you can't undersell the value of momentum. Once you have momentum, it's really easy to double, triple from there. But if you start off slow and now you have a bad week and then you have another bad week, and then, then all of a sudden we're stressing because the end of the month's coming up and we got to get all this stuff in, that's a recipe for having a good week and a bad month. And you never want to do that.
And that's one of the reasons why we had our daily goals. And we had a daily goal, and the daily goal was based on what our monthly goal was divided by the number of working days. Some people would just divide it by 30 days. Well, there's no months where there's 30 working days. In some months there's, less. On the average, it's 24, 25 days.
Or 22
working days, but you have to figure it out based on holidays and other things like that. And then we recalculate once we hit our daily goal, after the first day of the month, the next day we reevaluate minus whatever we did on the first, divide that by the number of remaining working days, and then that was the new daily goal. And if you keep doing it like that, then every day exactly how much I have to do tomorrow to be able to stay on track for my goal, and it keeps readjusting. And we would come down to the last day of the month and have to do 12 or 15,000 to hit our goal, and end up like Stephen Del Castello did that month that he hit. I guess was it a 60 or 70 month when you were shooting for 50 something?
It was 72 or 74, sir.
So
71. I lied. Barbara knows all the numbers. I don't remember stuff. I just do it.
I remember those numbers.
Hey, sorry, quick question for you guys. So if you want to get like 2 paid in fulls per location, did you say that you wanted to, you recommend basically talking to about 4 people per location? Is that what you were saying, Grandmaster Smith? from what I remember.
I tell you, the best thing is based on what your record is. See, we have, just like I have, every school knows how many.
Matt Smith, let me answer that from a different perspective, if you don't mind, and then go back to your train of thought. Is I would say it this way: is are you talking about enrollments or are you talking about renewals?
Talking about renewals for paid in fulls.
Yeah, my perspective is I made every effort to get every renewal paid in full. And in reality is if I started getting too high a percentage, which is rare, but we had one location, for instance, where, basically everybody would pay in full for the renewal. It was, Cherry Hills Country Club area, very high end area. But usually what you get is you get a third, or you get 20%, or you get, 35% or something like that, which is fine. Because if I'm going from $297 a month to $597 a month, I'm not hurting my billing if half of them pay in full, or if a third of them pay in full, right? So what I don't want to be doing is cashing out everything. But the logic of doubling and then a 50% bump on the renewal tuition is, if a third of them pay in full, your billing still went up. Does that make sense? So it doesn't really hurt you. And if they're paying in full for 3, 4, 5 years, fine, right?
So
Yeah.
so basically ask like every person that I just renewed to the Black Belt leadership, and just pretty much ask all of them to pay in full.
Yeah, and the reason I jumped in is what I hear a lot of times is, if you say, well, so I should ask for, well, if you did 15 renewals, what you're going to do is ask the 4 that you think, can afford it, right? And when it's staff, the guy who drives up in a Porsche and who's wearing a Rolex, that's the one they ask. And the kids look like Pigpen. You rarely see dad, and mom comes in wearing secondhand from Goodwill, is you don't ask, right? But the biggest mistake you can ever make is prejudge what they're capable of doing. And some of the biggest, brought in bag of $100 bills were the ones you would least likely judge would do it, right? The one, the kids look like Pigpen and the mom looks like she's dressed from, the discount rack at Goodwill. Dad shows up in coveralls covered with dirt and gave me leadership for a family of 4 with $100 bills that looked like they had been crumpled up for a while under the mattress. So I had another guy who was a professional gambler and brought in a roll of $100 bills. And if I hadn't known better, I wouldn't have asked him either, right? So I think you always make that mistake. And I had that experience one time. I walk into the Porsche dealership with a check in my pocket. And at the same time, some guy who just left his, legal office or something, wearing a $2,000 suit, walked in. And I was wearing workout clothes, and I was ready to write a check. And they all were, chasing that guy down and ignoring me. And I, bought a 911 Carrera 4 from a different dealership because they pissed me off. So you've got to be careful, And in fact, it was the dealership I was going to a lot, and they haven't got any business from me in 25 years now.
However, there's another factor I'd say. If you teach your staff the first way, where they're looking for the guy with the Porsche, what ends up happening is they don't ask anybody, because you're allowing them to be prejudging, and you're asking yourself, just make it a system. We were just talking about systems. If the system is everybody gets asked, then you'll end up getting your 20% or so.
Yeah.
But if the system is you cherry pick people, what they're going to do is they're going to end up cherry picking nobody.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's the real problem is it's not really about be careful who you pick, because maybe you'd be really good at it. But the problem is your staff will never be good at it, and they'll suck at it, and you'll not get any percentage. So
Well,
go ahead, sir.
I would argue nobody's ever going to be good at it.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
100% agree. I couldn't agree more with you, but your staff will be even way worse. And they would never talk to anybody ever.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they'll always be waiting for the right moment and the right perfect time and the right something or other.
I've had 30, if it's one, paid in full, where they gave me 5 credit cards, and I tried the first one until it cleared, then I tried the second one till it cleared, then I tried the third one till it cleared, then I tried the fourth one till it cleared. I've had single mom who came in with a new Discover card back when Discover was first released, and they sent it out with a $25 credit line, and she was going to pay less to Discover than she was going to pay to us. And it was a benefit for her, and it was a benefit to us. I've had mom works at Taco Bell. Not only single mom, doesn't know who the dad is, and her mom comes in with the Louis Vuitton bag, pulls up in an S-Class, and says, for God's sake, I don't want my grandson to turn out like his mom, and pays it in full, right? I mean, so you can make, I could go on and on and on of all the different people that I wouldn't have said that's the best prospect to go get cash from. But by offering it to all of them, you end up with the most likely are the ones that are, you don't know it, but they're on a financial cliff, than the ones, or they just, they have a better use for the money right now, and they don't want to do it that way. And the ones that you would least likely expect, do it. And again, my example of walking in sweats at 27 with a check to buy a new Carrera 4, and they don't give me the time of day, and somebody else walks in who probably had to do a lease, a 3-year closed-in lease, and they're all swarming over them. There was a movie. What was that movie where the guy walks in, great actor, walks in and buys the Lamborghini with cash, and all the salespeople had been basically saying that's very expensive car. Are you sure you want to look at that one? And basically says, you go away. Will you show it to me? Yes. And then he, gives them a bag of cash and drives off in the Lamborghini. But that's really happens, right?
Pretty Woman is the most famous example of that, where she walks in, she goes, big mistake, huge, because nobody would sell her anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Walks in with the credit card. That's exactly right. Or the true story, as far as I know, of Mike Tyson. I don't know if I've told this one, but when he got out of jail and he moves to Vegas, and at 9:00 at night, the Bentley dealership gets this very, Matt Smith, can you do the Mike Tyson voice? It's pretty close to yours.
No, thank you.
No, but hi, this is Mike Tyson. And he tells them whatever the model is. I want to get 2 black Bentleys. And the first dealership thinks it's a joke and hangs up on him. The second dealership shows up at his door at midnight, with 2 cars, and he pays cash for two Bentleys. Matt Smith, you may remember the story. Nick Okinis, the Lexus dealership, wouldn't sell him the Lexus. He says, bring it over to me and I'll write you a check. And they basically said, no, you have to come to the dealership because we have to walk you through. He goes, no, I want the same model I got in Maryland. If you can just have somebody bring it over, and this is what I want, this is what I don't want, I'll write you a check. They wouldn't deliver it to him. And he continued driving Big Red. Remember Big Red? Yeah, a little red VW convertible with a rusted out floorboard that we were all worried that he was going to die in Fort Lauderdale.
It was DMX and Exit Wounds.
There you go. Yeah. Great scene. Good work. If you haven't, have all your staff watch that one, among others, because it's a perfect example of not prejudging.
And my take on it was that I always looked not based on their financial situation. I had a whole list of factors, and I knew that it was unfeasible just to ask everybody every month. There's too many people to ask. So we had a systematic way of doing it. And whether it was you had to ask 5 people to get 4, or you had to ask 10 to get 5, but all we did was qualify them based on how well the kid liked the class, how well the mom liked the class. What was their mindset when they enrolled? Were they complaining about the price? Were they complaining about the cost? Were they late on their payments? I mean, there was a whole list of criteria, but I'd rather zero in on a target market that I work and make sure that they're qualified across the board on all of those avenues. And then we found that we got a better percentage. I quit letting them even talk about it on the renewal or enrollment, because a lot of times they would mess that up. They would say, well, you could pay it in full and you could save this much and it would cost you this. And then they freak out about the price and then don't want to do it. Or they want to go home and figure out their finances and get back to you, and they never get back to you. So I always like to get them renewed and then go back to the ones that are really engaged and make sure they are engaged. And if you ask the more qualified people on all of those criteria, you're going to get a lot better percentage.
Yeah, I mean, we can agree to disagree with that. I would prefer you just make a run at everybody, but what I wouldn't do is let the staff do that as a presentation of, it's this much if you pay in full, it's this much as you do it monthly. I would always do it as an, oh, by the way. And it could be an, oh, by the way, you've given me the credit card, you've signed the agreement. Oh, by the way, if you prefer, a lot of people prefer, you could do it then, or the deal is done and you schedule a follow-up appointment and you do it the following week, right? With me doing, let's say, a paid in full enrollment, it would always be in the room, oh, by the way, after everything is signed. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, one of the things that a lot of our parents prefer to do is just do the, the year tuition rather than doing it monthly. If you would prefer to do that, there's an additional $300 savings on doing that. And I especially do that with the credit card in hand, right? Oh, by the way, if you'd prefer to just, do the year on the credit card, on your Visa, it's a $300 discount. A lot of parents prefer to do it that way. I forgot to mention that. That's easy. Nothing ever falls apart because of that, right? The renewal, the same thing. And as Master Smith is saying, the worst thing to do on the renewal is, here's the paid in full is $27,000. And here's this finance plan. And why don't you go think about whether you want to do the finance plan or the paid in full, because then they'll go fixate on the numbers. Right? If you're going through and you're doing it a step at a time, then you get agreement on each step. And then if you do, oh, by the way, at the end of that process, it's fine. They're not going to bail out altogether if they've already agreed to the term, they've already agreed to the monthly, et cetera. So that does work.
And you're always asking for a 4-year paid in full or a 6-year paid in full?
Well, in our case, it was 72 months, but 6 years. But it's up to how you've structured it, Sal. Right? There are some people who have some legal issues they have to deal with, different states, or have to be bonded. And full disclaimer, neither myself, Master Moody, or Master Smith are lawyers registered in any state in the United States or Canada or the UK. But yeah, I mean, the difference, 4 years, 72 months, whatever, is pretty much irrelevant in the conversation, because it starts with goal setting. So if you set a goal to be a black belt, now I'm talking about black belt and beyond. And so it doesn't even really factor into the thinking, right? I'm not saying, do you want to commit for 48 months or 72 months? Well, neither. But are you sure you want to be a black belt? Yeah, well, this will actually take you to black belt and beyond. What we're starting with initially is to get you the second degree. I mean, that would be the way the conversation went. Does that make sense, Sal? Yeah. Good.
Yes.
It's about 5 after, and before we run out of time, let's talk about September marketing for about 20 minutes here, at least. One thing we know is that some areas of the country and the world, are more freaked out about the Delta variants, vaccinations, not vaccinated, all that stuff than others, right? So what's happening in Florida, which I would term sanity, is different than what's happening in Colorado, which I would, consider partial sanity, versus what's happening in California, which I would consider totally off the charts, whack jobs. But different places. Here are a bunch of live events that were supposed to happen in Labor Day, and one thing or another have been canceled. Here, a lot of the elementary schools are back to no outsiders. The kids are in school, but I'm concerned that it's a pretext to all of a sudden they're going to be pretending to do class on Zoom before long here. But in different areas of the country, you've got to determine whether you have live events going on, you don't have live events, whether you have all of them going on or some of them. A lot of places still had farmers markets, but then canceled, other types of events. But what I would say is almost everywhere schools are back in session. We know that directly in with the elementary schools has been one of the best feeders ever. We know that if they do the Colorado thing now of, well, the kids are in class, but no other person's allowed to come. Basically what they said is no after school programs, no other person's allowed to come in the building. Well, okay. So that means we could promote something like the Children's Hospital flyers. So we can do a $47 program that they pass out. All of the money goes to a reputable charity, or all the money goes to the school. That we could do. We could in part promote it by doing, a 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening Zoom class for all of the kids, where they had a registration page and participate. Possibly we could get the PE teacher to cooperate with, put us on the TV, and we do a via Zoom, with the kids that are physically present. But what we don't want to do is just kind of like throw in the towel on those kinds of ideas. I certainly know that we used to print the flyers in lots of 100,000. It would go directly out to all the kids in the classrooms. I know when I got Tim and Dave Kovar to do it, they had so much flood, they had to stagger them, so they didn't get overwhelmed because they weren't good at drinking from a fire hose. And so they would have to stagger them out. So that's a fine methodology. Master Meter, have you been looking at the Google logs recently? I would expect there to be a spike coming again on Google traffic.
We're seeing a lot of response with Google. So, everybody should be putting some money into AdWords.
Yeah.
And generally that's true around September anyway.
Yeah. Well,
so that's September is always when people are transitioning activities.
Yeah. Usually July 1st, August 15th is lame. This year was unusual, unusually good. Just because I think most of the world was tired of being locked down for no good reason. But usually that July 1st, August 15th would be weak. And then all of a sudden it starts spiking, oftentimes a week or two after school has started, but it starts spiking. What I always did is I put ad budget into 2 weeks before school when it went in session through 4 to 6 weeks after it went in session. And most of the response would not be happening prior to school going back in session. Mostly it would be after the first or second week. So that's when people would start really getting going. And so that's why I'm asking the question, Master Moody, is I would expect a week or so into school for all of a sudden the search traffic to spike. And if you weren't, dominating pay-per-click, and if you weren't doing a good job on your search placement, you're going to miss out on a lot of that. On a format like Facebook, same thing. Normally we would expect July, August to be a little weak, but then all of a sudden mom starts paying attention once, they're back in the routine of going back to school, looking for, what activities are happening, what should we be doing now? So that starts to spike as well. What would you add to that, Master Mooney?
Well, I wouldn't add anything. I think people need to put a lot of attention on all their marketing activities right during that space of time for anybody that's both adult and kid market. Both adult and kid market is a lot of transition in activities. So the internet's just we see that spike on the internet because it's measurable. Yeah. But that's what we historically have always seen before we could measure that kind of traffic.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Prior to the internet, that's when suddenly Yellow Pages would work. And that's when
right.
the newspaper ads would work the best, and that's when the response on TV and or radio would work the best. So
Yeah,
that's
which-
when all of that stuff.
Yeah, which is why I mean, we're talking about September marketing now. Really, what we want to try to get everybody doing is talking about September, October, November,
Correct.
and December, really, and be looking 3 months in advance. We always try to plan our marketing 3 months in advance. So we've got before the end of a month, the next 3 months planned.
You bet.
And so, but not that, that's water under the bridge now, because we're talking about September, but
Right.
you can always anticipate those, September, end of August, September, January, February, May, June to be big in those kind of areas. And it's rare that there's not a spike in search traffic.
You bet. You bet.
Sir, I just wanted to add, for the people that live nearby military housing, I've been invited to this for a long time. I guess like 10 years now, because I was a military officer. So if you guys have any Navy bases around where you guys do your business, I get invited every year, twice a year. It's called a military housing event, and they basically invite us to all these military housing in our area, and it's for about an hour and a half. So we're doing that now in September, and that, like and it started this week, and we're getting like 18 leads with appointments generally per day, and it's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, and it's a gold mine if you have any of that around your place. So I just happened to be calling people when I first started, and they were like, "Oh, you're in the military, so you're in." So, but it's all the military housing, and they basically sell to all the vendors, like pizza, banks, and everything that they, around the neighborhood, and the military host these events, so that, these families have something to do.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
recommend that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true of all the branches have similar opportunities. Sal, you're dominated with a lot of Navy out there, but Matt Smith can tell you back in Washington D.C. We had events tied to the Pentagon. Matt Smith, how many times have you done stuff at Quantico over the years?
Many times. I took Chuck Norris there a couple times.
Yeah, but probably 3 times a year for 30 years or something. But just they're very open and receptive to that. They sometimes they're a little discerning on whether somebody's credible or not, and I assume everybody here is credible. But they're very open to all of those type of events, and especially as you're talking about, Sal, everybody who's living on base is very open. And in the case of the Pentagon, we used to get a ton of traffic from the officers at the Pentagon, many of whom didn't live in military housing. But we had the pilot for Air Force One, and the guy in charge of the Marine Guard at Camp David, and the gentleman in charge of the Defense Intelligence Agency War Room, and I mean that was just at Alexandria. So it's a very fruitful market for a lot of people. And again, if you don't have a major military presence, it doesn't do you any good. But if you do, it does. Let's talk about movie theaters for a second. I keep butchering the name, Sung-Chi or whatever
Shang-Chi.
There you go. Is a martial arts movie, right? I mean, it's kind of a Hong Kong fantasy character from Marvel, but it broke the all-time Labor Day weekend record for attendance. And I'm not talking about COVID. It's the all-time record for box office on Labor Day. I think AMC had his best day ever internationally with the premiere of that movie. So we're coming up on, and again, you got to pay attention. For instance, I know Top Gun already pushed off into next year again, but we have several Marvel movies coming out over the holidays, several other big blockbusters that are going to come out over the holidays. So assuming that your theater is good with tabling again and National Cinemedia cooperates, then there's an awful lot of movie theater promotions that'll be good. Worst case, November, December, and probably through September and October as well. So what was happening before this movie is you had a lot of them like Black Widow that was going straight to streaming and straight into the theaters. And Black Widow still did well. I mean, it did, I think, 90 million opening weekend, of which 60 million was live. But what you're having now is we've, proven with the numbers in Labor Day that people are ready to be back in the theaters. I think that's pretty much true everywhere. So as long as the theater chain is now letting you do tabling, it's back to being a fruitful resource. And there's a bunch of, we'll start paying attention to the dates, but I know Venom actually moved up the date. I think once that Top Gun moved, and then there's the Spider-Man movie. And do you remember Master Smith, Master Movie, what some of the other big blockbusters are coming out next couple months?
Let me look them up.
Yeah. But it's a very fruitful opportunity, assuming that they're now letting you go back into it. I know that it's been kind of hit or miss on getting the tablings going again.
Who would we talk to for that?
You typically go through National Cinema Media, NCM. And so if you, I believe it's ncm.com, and they handle, I believe at last count, something like 87% of all the screens in the United States. They don't handle, for instance, Alamo Drafthouse, but they do handle AMC. It's a joint venture between AMC and Regal. So they handle all the Regal, they handle all the Century theaters. Regal, of course, is United Artists. Regal is Century, United Artists, and somebody else. But they handle all the Century and the different theaters under that banner. They handle all the Regal cinemas, and they handle all the AMC cinemas. And what they do, by the way, is they handle selling on-screen advertising, video advertising. They will sell anything from a coupon that you give out when you buy a ticket to, a poster in the theater box. But what we found is the productive thing is what they call a tabling. And by the way, if you have a big theater that's not in their network, is you can go directly to a theater manager. You always have to approach them with what's in it for them. And the thing that's nice about National Cinema Media is you give them $500, $750, $1,000. They put the tabling in. Whether you manage to make a deal with a theater manager or not, you're in, and it's good. And frankly, oftentimes you can build a relationship with the theater where they'll let you come back whenever you want or something like that. But what I don't want to do is what I like is it's worth $500 and I give them a check. They let me in. There's no question about whether it's a clean deal, right? And then I build a little bit of rapport with the theater managers to, instead of coming in Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, he lets me come in Thursday night. And so I come in Thursday night for the premiere, although they haven't been all that big a deal for the last couple of years. So I can do Thursday night, I can do Friday for all the showings, Saturday, Sunday, and be in like Clover.
Or you get other benefits, like they let us leave our stuff there overnight when we come in Friday. We can leave our table and our crap in their closet and in their storage room, so we don't have to keep hauling it back and forth and stuff like that. Let me give you some of the movies that would be good ones.
Before you do that, one of your strategy, and it's what I did a lot of times way back when, but your strategy has been theaters in a shopping mall. You approach the shopping mall and do the table outside the theater. If you have problems with the theater, or if you're in a busy location, you can do that. One of our schools used to always have a deal with them. It was a big shopping center that had a theater in it, and the shopping center would let them come in anytime they wanted to do it and do anything they wanted. So they basically just camped outside the theater where the ticket line was, but their relationship was with the shopping center, letting them do it rather than with the theater specifically. But Matt,
Right.
you're going to tell us what some of the blockbusters are coming out.
Right. And sometimes, by the way, just to add on to that, we go when the shopping center has events. So the shopping center, like during Easter, will have some kind of bunny day, or they'll have they do some weird bubble day, or they'll do like a snow day because Arizona doesn't have any snow. So they'll have like a snow day. They'll bring in manufactured snow. So look for those kind of activities and, Christmas activities, whatever.
Well, and your kids haven't been little for a while. Easter, they oftentimes have the Easter bunny, so people can come get a picture with an Easter bunny.
This
And
is Bunny Day. Did I not say Bunny Day?
yeah, but I mean, there's actually a guy sitting in a costume.
That's
and
what I meant.
Okay.
Okay,
Not
wait.
Playboy bunnies.
Okay.
Master Smith. Okay. Anyway, let me get to that. Let me shift gears. I'm going to take over. Okay.
Yeah.
October 1st is Venom. I'm not sure how big that, but it might be big. October 8th.
What day? What weekend?
October 1st.
Okay.
According to this, I know they're
that-
moving it around a lot. October 8th is No Time to Die, though, which has been waiting
James
forever.
Bond.
The James Bond. Yeah, the James Bond one should be huge.
And by the way, Venom will be huge. I got to tell you, my resident Marvel fan will be there, on Thursday night.
I
Forcing me to.
I think Venom will match the 10 Rings numbers.
So No Time to Die, with the James Bond one, October 8th. Let's see, other big ones. Dune on October 22nd, which is getting amazing reviews.
Ghostbusters, November 19th.
Right. And then,
Matrix, December 22nd.
well, Spider-Man, December 17th. That's the big one. December 22nd's got a bunch of releases. The Kingsman, Matrix, and you're getting the holiday shopping crowd. So December 22nd would be really good to be on. That would be perfect. And we've had good results even without a big release, being in the mall between Christmas and New Year's, like the 22nd or the 26th, which is the second biggest shopping day of the year.
Yeah, even if there's some of those kid movies, some of the Disney movies or any of those kind of kid movies, they always get a good turnout.
So again, October 1st, Venom, October 8th, No Time to Die, the 22nd of October is Dune. Eternals is November 5th. That should be a big release. I missed that one.
Eternals, yeah, that'll be huge.
That'll be big. Ghostbusters, November 19th. I don't know if that'll be as big. Then
No.
Spider-Man on December 17th, and then December 22nd, I think should be real big. It's got 3 movies: Kingsman, Matrix Resurrections, and Sing 2.
Yeah,
So
all of those will be good.
yeah, so the December 22nd is going to be just good for lots of traffic.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good one to be at.
And don't forget October, gear up now for October. The whole month of October, you should be start prepping for your Halloween stuff, because there seems to be a lot of activities in that month.
Yeah, and by the way, you can, if you don't know it, I'm not coming up with it immediately, but you can go to, there's an awful lot of internal industry sites that you can just Google and do projected box office opening weekend for a movie, and they'll give you what the insider industry projections are. And sometimes they're off, but they're usually pretty close. Venom last time, the first Venom movie opened with an $80 million opening weekend. And Eternals is going to be huge numbers. Spider-Man is going to be huge numbers. What were the others, Master Moody? Matrix?
Well, yeah, Matrix. Well, on December 22nd, it's Matrix and the Kingsman. That's the prequel to the Kingsman 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Sing 2,
Spider-Man.
but December 22nd be big. December 17th is Spider-Man, which should be massive. Because that one is got all these kind of crazy secrets that are happening. It's getting so much buzz. I think Spider-Man is going to be enormous. And if Disney is not going to do a concurrent release to Disney Plus, that'll make the theater release much bigger. Let's see, we're going backwards now. Ghostbusters November 19th, and then Eternals November 5th. What else were you asking about? Dune on October 22nd. So you've got
a bunch of them. Yeah.
Dune may or may not be big for our market, and then James Bond on October 8th.
Yeah. But if they'll let you, I would be there for Spider-Man and Eternals for sure. Because those are going to be massive. And Master Moody, to your point, with or without Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit encouraging them, but they've committed to not releasing them on Disney Plus concurrently with a theatrical release for these.
Did they say that, or did they say they were after Shang-Chi? They said they were going to do that.
Shang-Chi they didn't release on Disney Plus.
Right, but I thought they were deciding after that whether or not that was going to. Did they make a conclusion that they weren't going to concurrent release it?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay.
And
So
if they
for
if
us.
if they were waiting to see how it did great, right? So after it broke the Labor Day weekend box office record, period, I'm sure they were encouraged that live box office is back. So yeah, it bears paying attention. But hell, even Black Widow, which was the lower grossing of the Marvel movies relative, but it still did a $60 million, I believe, opening weekend at the box office. It just did another 30 million on Disney Plus, and apparently Scarlett Johansson's contract was a percentage of box office, not a percentage of streaming, and it's the highest profile lawsuit they've had in an awful long time. Which, from everything I've read, she should win in a heartbeat. And Disney has, by the way, has a long record of playing hardball with high profile talent, which is probably a bad idea on their side. Certainly seems to me that way.
I think so.
Yeah. If I'd been CEO, I would have just said, well, we'll give you a percentage on the streaming too, and call it a day, and on to the next deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, any questions on that? So one avenue, of course, is all the different things we can do with the schools. But regardless of what's happening with COVID, we know that the passing out the Children's Hospital flyers, doing a class on Zoom, doing a registration page, that works fine. Doing the PE teacher with permission slips, if they let you into the school, works great. Doing the PE teacher with permission slip to promote an after school program works fabulous. If they wouldn't let you do the after school program because of COVID in the school, they might let you do it online or do it at your location. That works fine too. I've done that a number of times. The other thing we know is all of the normal grassroots kind of silly stuff that we've done in the past all works just great, and it's inexpensive. 300 locations out with rack cards, or 400, that would work great right now. Flyers on the pizza boxes at Blackjack and Domino's and everybody else who delivers, that would work great right now as well. Being in the McDonald's drive-through in the bag as a promotion for the Ronald McDonald House, being in Wendy's and Burger King for that would work great. Big banner on the school, inflatable of the school, bandit signs up and down the street. All that works great. If you're in an area that's urban enough where you can do it, the big like concert poster type of posters up and everywhere where you can do it. All that stuff works great. So all that grassroots stuff, Master Smith, on the quick start, you have the 2-hour session, I think, where you went through like 55 different things you can do. We should be hustling on that. And by the way, I sound like a broken record, but Facebook works so well for most people during the COVID thing, combined with the Google, that a lot of people got lazy. And what you got to do is have the Parthenon, have 20 different things going on. And I heard several times in August, September, people saying, well, our Facebook results are down. It's like, well, okay, so what? That's the way it works. You have 20 different things going on, and some work well in different months. Some work great. Some of you still got lots of lead traffic in August. Some of it went down, but it should be, you've got a bunch of different things always going on. The school program thing, I've had it be where we would have done 50 enrollments from that program and they canceled at the last minute. Well, if I had 19 other things going on, I can be pissed off, but I still have good traffic. If I don't have 19 other things going on, then it's a crisis. So you never want to put yourself in a situation where you have the crisis.
Yeah, the October, the Halloween thing, it takes a little preparation, but what we did that always worked really well is we did trick or treat bags, and we would bag them to 20 little bags, and then we would give a bag to each of our students to give out at their house. We would ask them, how many trick or treaters do you have come to your house? And if they said, oh, 20, and some will say 30, and some will say 10 or whatever, then we would give them that bag with all the little gift bags in there with candy in them, and then our Halloween gift certificate for the free 2 weeks and a uniform. And we also had the kids take them to their class at school and hand them out to their classmates at school. So you end up giving out thousands of those things. It's amazing the kind of coverage you can get, and it's all right in your area. You tack that on with your trunk or treat stuff that goes on, and all these little Halloween parties that are around going on for community centers and different places. So, really look into what's going on. You have a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
I'll post some of those little cards that we did before, so you get an idea of what that card looks like that you.
Well, you just go to Matt Smith, just go to the Print Center. There should be a bunch of them there.
Okay. And if you go to the dollar store, you can buy these little plastic Halloween bags. They come like 20 for $1. And then they're smaller, and you put the candy in there, and then you get a bigger bag to put the a batch of 20 in to give out to your students.
Oh, and by the way, we've done direct mail pieces that had lumpy mail, and we've done Oriental Trading little bitty ghosts and goblin type of things that you can buy for $5 per dozen or something like that. Little ghost rubber duckies, all kinds of interesting stuff, and it's just to get their attention. So there's all kinds of stuff if you go to Oriental Trading. Sometimes if you go to some place like Michael's or what's the other one? What's that?
Joanne's has some trinket things.
Yeah, a hobby store. Hobby Lobby, that's what I was thinking of. Go to Hobby Lobby, Michael's. You can get ideas there, and sometimes they have interesting things that you can just buy fairly inexpensively.
And dollar store has all kinds of little things like that too.
Yeah. And the best resource is, Oriental Trading, because you can get any and everything there, and buy them by the dozen.
Yeah,
Lots.
I think they still have the Ninja Turtle stuff too.
Oriental Trading doesn't have Ninja Turtle branded stuff, but they have Ninja stuff that, Ninja rubber duckies and all kinds of different things like that. But okay, on that note, anybody have anything else before we take it, call it a day? And Matt Smith, you had somebody you wanted to follow up with at the end of the day here, or at the end of the meeting.
They rescheduled.
Okay.
We're going to do tomorrow.
Okay. Well, sounds good. So,
Marketing, guys, let's have a big month.
yeah, Master Moody, Mr. Dunn, Master Smith, if I could keep you guys for a second.
Sure.
And otherwise, we'll call
I'm
it.
sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, so I'm gonna be kind of blunt. This month has not been off to a great start. I think in total we just got 3 intros, right, in the past couple of days. But what are, a couple of things I could do to maybe start to improve that intro count?
Well, that's a huge question, Matthew.
Yes.
Go to the what's the website, Bob?
Quickstartmember.com.
Yeah, go to quickstartmember.com and watch the video with Master Smith where he goes through all the graphs.
That's week 2.
Yeah.
3 videos.
And there's a ton of content in the Facebook group as well about back to school marketing. There's a great recording with Jan Lappin, which you may have missed that one already, but there's a recording with Jan about school orientations or back to school nights. There's like 4 hours of me about the after school programs. The kind of rule number 1 is always be marketing every day. And whether that's picking up the phone and calling your old prospects, or, loading 5 kids up in the, in the car and doing flyers on the parking lot, always have something going on every day.
Bandit signs, black cards.
Yeah. Yeah, always,
We just did rat cards today.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But
Yeah, Bob,
there you go. Grassroots marketing part 1, part 2. That's what I was talking about. And the video above that in part 3, and the video above that is Jan. And then about the orientation days. And Bob, do you know where that after school program stuff is? Probably
right to the right, where, see where his little finger's going now?
Well, we have, yeah, and then there's a full marketing checklist right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marketing checklist is a good one.
Print off that marketing checklist, because that has a ton of stuff on it. Open that real quick, Bob, if you could. Yeah, see all these things to check off you can do each month that you're things to do. I mean, and it has them all divided out into different things, different venues. Tells you how many times online, Facebook, direct mail.
And there's also an example. Let me see if I can go back.
And Bob, since we were talking about marketing so much today at the meeting, maybe just go ahead and post that marketing checklist in our member site. I mean, our Facebook page for everybody would be.
Yeah,
great.
and here, Matthew, there's also an example of one of my high schools marketing plan. So for every month, so let's go down here to their September. Here you go. Just to give you some other ideas.
And that's a 12-month marketing plan, and it's kind of
Correct.
tied into whatever that month is, like holiday, Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween or back to school or summer or 4th of July, New Year's, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the other the school program you were talking about, Master Oliver, that's in the other site.
Yes. Yeah, that's in the Facebook group.
But it's also in the Facebook group as well, correct?
We started sending the letters out to the schools over the past couple of weeks. We're trying to follow up with them, give them calls, and then next we're just going to show up.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, we got to run, Matthew. But
thank you very much.
Find any of that stuff. Just reach out to Bob and he'll walk you through it all.